Chapter 17. A Proper Bastard Never Dies. Through sheer expenditure of money and cashing in favors with big shots in Katapesh, the party had Hassan revived. Resurrection is a very, very hard and complicated thing to do in my campaigns. But they were very, very rich as well, so it was within reach. One of Hassan's eyes was destroyed during the fight, however, so he had to replace it with another one made of pure gold. As for Rakim, well, that would come. For now, their longtime adventure companion would remain jailed beneath the STC headquarters, pumped with all manner of alchemical concoctions to keep him weak, and in a semi-conscious state. Since they were in Katapesh for Hassan's resurrection, they may as well get some business going. Rather than breaking into madness fits, Hassan sent an envoy to Saltspit to get Rakim's signature, which he used to forge a will in which Rakim, who allegedly died from a slow, painful death caused by a severe case of choleric fever he caught in Jalmaray, designated his shares of the STC as preferential for society withholders, which essentially meant the current living owners of the STC. Valinar, Hassan, Volgok Jack, the Prince, Honest Abdul, and a host of other minor shareholders who had been joining the ranks of the company as time went through, had the right to buy them, and, if none wished, they would be sent to the auction house to be sold to the highest bidder. By offering money to the rest of the owners, Hassan bought Rakim's shares for himself and became the leading stockholder. Jack wanted to protest, but he had been threatened by the Rogue after he tried to defend Rakim, and he knew they could dispose of him at any moment. Valinar had no quibbles, since being the leading stockholder meant that he would have to dedicate more time to directing the company, and he had other things to worry about. As for Volgok, well, all those earthly things meant little. Instead, he recited bad poetry to the stockholders' assembly. "I saw no light at the end of the tunnel, Valinar," had said Hassan after he was arrived. "But I didn't see fire either. I take that as simply not being my moment. So let's get back to business." While Valinar took care of contacting denizens of Leng from different parts of Garund, Hassan went to work on the technical aspects of the new business venture. So first there was the thing with the golden fountain. Quite awful Gistelda had been tasked with setting up all that was necessary to send the kid into a perpetual dreaming state, in a small tower they had built north of Saltspit for that purpose. She warned him that once the kid was sent into such a deep sleep, waking him up later on would most likely result in his death. "Just get me that golden fountain, which," was all Hassan replied before going out. Chapter 18. Time for more experiments. Falbala's case was a bit trickier. Valinar had explained to him all he knew about the process developed by the Flesh Eater's High Priest, and together they made a list of things they saw as essential. These were the substance used to infuse the host. Valinar had wisely kept some of it, although it had already decayed. To replicate it, they hired a contingent of Katapesh's finest alchemists, necromancers, and apothecaries, who worked day and night until they managed to create a copy. There were a lot of ugly accidents, of course, and even more to come once they established production. And to that end, they had a huge pit built near Saltspit to dispose of these flesh spawns. So basically, my players were setting down the first stones for a future dungeon. I love these bastards. Elven women. As mentioned before, the life energy that runs through elves and makes them immortal is perfect for the severe drain that accelerated development of the host causes on the mother. So they would need to somehow get more of those. Getting people against their will wasn't really much of a challenge, but the fact that elves were so scarce this far south made things a bit trickier. Through the Brass Legion, Hassan made contact with a band of mercenaries known as Banor's Bastards, which operated in southern Avestan, the northern continent, which would be the equivalent of Europe in Galarian terms. Remember, Katapesh is in eastern Garund, which is Galarian's Africa. Now I come to think of it, Katapesh seems awfully similar to Zanzibar. They would be tasked with the capturing of elves from Kioranin, an elven kingdom far to the north, as well as any other elf they could find. Women would be worth 1,000 gold pieces each, men 200. Hassan thought that using elves on both sides of the quote-unquote process would maybe increase the life energy available. They were going to capture the pointy-eared things anyway, might as well use them for something. I still clearly remember the discussion he had with one of Banor's envoys who came with the first load of elves. No, these ones are clearly male. Look, you added the fake breasts. And, check between their legs there. What? Nothing. Let me see. The hell? These won't do. First, I'm not paying for male elves made to look like female elves. And second, I don't need dickless eunuchs either. Take these back and tell Banor I'm not going to get scammed this easily. Nursery. Beyond the fact that these were pretty ugly babies, the denizens of Lang are creatures whose bodies are made out of malleable flesh which they can control with their minds, are unusually tall with elongated extremities and mouths that look like an enemy's. Now mix that with a human and an elf. Aye, not pretty at all. They still had to be kept alive, of course. Falbala's offspring showed that development occurred very fast. In the span of 2 months, it had grown from a "what the hell is that thing" to a "what the hell is that thing?" And their dietary needs quickly went from what one would expect from a human or elf baby into not needing food at all. However, since the High Priest had designated these as blank hosts, they also became rather unsettling. Since they had no mind of their own, being essentially large vegetables which had spontaneous bursts of reactive behavior to basic needs, so a nursery was built to accommodate these, with female slaves brought from Kandasar to take care of the feeding and caring. Those who went nuts with the situation were shipped to the Nightmare Bunkhouse. Everything was functioning like clockwork.